Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Good morning, good people. Good morning to my friends all around the world. Welcome. Welcome, Soul Family. Welcome to my sacred grove. We're under the sacred trees by the sacred creek having a sacred moment. Sacred. Sacred. How's your heart today? Is your heart kind? How is your mind? Is your mind calm and clear? It's time to stop the distraction rhetoric. You can't un-exist yourself. Let's break it down. Whether you like it or not, this is it. Okay? We're here, we exist, and this world exists. Unless you think it's a simulation, then don't watch this. But for those who understand that something is going on, life, this message is for you. If you think about it, okay? We've been raised in a way, influenced by different things, but we've been raised in a way to feel separate from everything else. We are not separate. No matter how you look at it, we are not separate. We are a part of what's going on. Somebody might say, well, Johan, what do you mean we were raised in a way to feel separate? Well, what I'm talking about is groups, institutions, these things. I like this type of car, this brand. You drive the other brand. My brand is the best. I go to this Ivy League school. You didn't. This school's the best. I go to this church. I belong to this religion. This church, this religion is the best. In this way, we separate ourselves from the rest of the world. In this way, we act as if our existence is more important than all the other things that exist. And that's not true. That's not true. It's time to stop the distraction rhetoric, okay? There are quite a few ways people approach problems or situations that need to be figured out using various methods. And what I'm about to say is what we're really doing, and I'll explain this a little more. What we're really doing is causing a distraction from the problem at hand, or the situation at hand, or just life. Just life. Here's a way you could, well, try to un-exist yourself with alcohol and drugs. It dulls the pain. You're not so sensitive at the time you're under the influence of what's going on. That's one way. This is my experience. This is my experience. And it's not just isolated to YouTube, but there's more interaction on YouTube if that's your go-to social media. My experience is, and it's not just on my channel, I've seen it on other channels, a creator makes a video, and in most cases, not all, maybe even in a few cases, there's a title to the video and then there's an explanation. An explanation. Later on, in the comments, somebody will throw in a Bible verse. Later on, in the comments, someone will throw a quotation from a spiritual person from a book into the comments. Or later on, somebody will quote a philosopher. Couple lines. Couple lines of a Bible verse. Couple lines of something a spiritual person said, or a couple of lines from a philosopher. And this is supposed to make sense. But you know what it is? It's a distraction. It's a distraction from the topic at hand. Let's say there's a problem you're trying to figure out. You're trying to navigate through life, okay? You're trying to navigate through life and people seem to think here's a couple sentences from wherever it comes from that'll solve your problem. What it is a distraction. It's a distraction. Read this, and that should go away. Read this, and that should go away. Whether it's a Bible verse, a quote from a spiritual book, or words from a philosopher. This is all you need to know. Problem solved, right? No. I mentioned this before about our ancestors, okay? We're talking about 1,000 years ago, a little more, times of antiquity. When part of the structure of the clan or tribe was to meet at a certain place, maybe in a long hut or a grove like this, and have discussions. Also back then there were storytellers. And the stories gave an example of a situation, and intertwined in there was a remedy. Where are the discussions today? Where are the discussions today? I guess we'll just stick to YouTube. Somebody might have a problem, and then a personal comment with a quote from a spiritual book. Somebody might have a problem and a personal comment, a couple verses from the Bible. Somebody will have a problem and there'll be a comment, here's what this philosopher said. Now, I'm not saying to focus on the problem and let it get you down. What I'm saying is these are distractions from doing an in-depth look at how we function as human beings. Here's a problem. What happened here before the problem? Here's the problem. Now we discuss how we got into it or how it came about. And then there's a resolution, which pretty much has to do with behavior, thinking, or as I said in the beginning, how we were raised to feel separate. Nothing is separate here. Nothing is separate. It's all connected, one way or the other. It's all connected. You can't ignore it. You could call it life, you could call it this existence. This existence. We exist here. No matter what's going on, we exist. Typically in a regular social setting, amongst different people, an issue might arise, and to resolve it, they may start making excuses or blaming other people. There's that side of it. This person did this that really upset me, somebody might say. And then someone else might say, oh, I know them. Don't worry about it, or you need to approach them and tell them that they pissed you off. Or you could throw a Bible verse out, or a verse from a spiritual book, or a quote from a philosopher. Problem solved? No. Back in ancient times, there were schools of thought, schools of philosophy, where, let's call them knowledgeable people, discussed issues of the day. In-depth discussions. We don't have those schools of thoughts today. However, albeit nonetheless, if you have a little bit of information, you could apply it to the situation you're in, look at it in depth, and make a great attempt to come up with a resolution. Because at the end of the day, no matter what is going on, the most important point of it is it affects you. It affects you. 1, 2, now that it affects you, how are you going to act? How are you going to react? What are you going to do? Stay quiet? Ignore it? Try to figure it out? I said this before. I read titles of videos. Now I want you to know, before I started this channel, I would go around on various channels on YouTube. Mostly masters, mystics, shamans. And once in a while, I would go to, I don't want to call it amateur channels, let's say less known people that have a channel on YouTube that discuss spiritual, philosophical, and religious things, okay? I see titles to videos like, if you're this type of person, you know, type A personality, type B, if you're this type of person, you can't hold a 9-to-5 job. This is why. Or if you're this type of person, let's say you follow a certain religion, you're always going to be attacked. And I'm drawn to some channels, I don't know why. I'm drawn to some channels. And once in a while I go back to them. Very few. And these lesser known people, creators, they make sense for a while, and then all of a sudden, and this is my experience, they break down. There's a breakdown. Now, I don't want you to think I don't have issues in my life, because I do. I just don't come on here like, you know, people on Facebook, BRB, going to the bathroom. Look what I found on the bathroom floor. I'm back now. I decided to make this. Here's a picture of the frying pan with the butter and oil in it. BRB, someone's at the door. So I don't announce everything. Because there are tools in place. Spiritual tools. Or a spiritual toolkit. I have a spiritual toolkit at my disposal. 3 tools from the spiritual toolkit are prayer, meditation, and self-examination. I've studied the Bible, mostly the New Testament, but because the Old Testament is a representation of Jewish religion. It's not Christian, okay? I've studied the translations from Hebrew, Greek, Latin into English. Here's what I can tell you from my experience. This is what I have to say when somebody throws a Bible verse out, and that's supposed to solve everything. 1. Who was speaking at the time? Where you got this Bible verse from. Who was speaking at the time? Who was it? What period of history was it in? So now you need to know what was going on at that particular time. This person decided to address it. The one writing the story in the Bible. Those verses, those Bible books address problems at a particular time that a particular set of people were having. Did you hear what I said? Those verses address a particular problem that a particular set of people were having at the time. Oh, then it makes sense. Then it makes sense when you know what they were going through, what they were up against, what their challenges were, what the existence was at that period of time. Does that mean it can't relate to us today? No, it doesn't mean that. It's the same as taking a quote from a spiritual book and saying, leaving a comment. They just leave the comments. Whether it's a Bible verse, a quote from a spiritual book, or something a philosopher says, they just leave a comment with what was said, a couple of sentences, and, well, what am I supposed to do with that? It might make you feel good that you have things memorized. But maybe, just maybe, the people you're trying to address with your quote maybe it's not their cup of tea. And what are you going to do? Hold it against them? And that's what people do. Oh, you don't believe in this? You're lost. You're done. Then throw another sentence, Bible verse, or quote in there. We've been raised to feel separate. Our country is greater than your country. Our religion is better than your religion. My brand of automobile is better than your brand of automobile. I go to this Ivy League school, you don't. These are the distractions. These are the things that divide people. Division. Oh, they didn't listen to me. What do you expect? They drive a Ford. Oh, they didn't listen to me. What do you expect? They went to that school. Oh, they didn't listen to me. What do you expect? They follow that religion. Are you following me? Are you picking up what I'm putting down? Been a while since I got a little gangster with spiritual matters. So all those actions I just described, how people look at each other, you know, when I said I try to talk to them, but, you know, they drive that. I try to talk to them, but they go to this church. I try to talk to them, but they go to that school. All these things are a distraction from the issue at hand. That you don't have your shit together. And instead of coming to an agreement with yourself that other people will exist alongside of me and have different opinions and different beliefs, instead of looking at it that way, we want to get up on our high horse and say, well, they don't do this, you know, they're not like me, they don't follow this or that, and that's where the problem lies. That's not where the problem lies. The problem lies in people who don't understand we are all in this together, whether you like it or not. And if you can't help someone, at least don't hurt them. Which is a saying from Eastern philosophy, spirituality. If you can't help someone, at least don't hurt them. Here's another one. If you don't see God in the next person you meet, you need look no further. Have you ever had an experience where you were trying to figure something out? I'll give you an example. Like, I got a free motorcycle, so I've been tinkering around with it. And people will drive by, they see it. Maybe one will stop. What are you doing? Well, I got this bike. It's been sitting for 2 years. I just want to get it running. I'm not familiar with it, really. It's a Honda 72 450. Well, I'd like to help you, but I'm busy. I'm really busy. And then they leave. When someone says that, I'd like to help you, but I'm busy, and then they leave, what they're saying is, I have no time for you. I have no time for you. And you might know them. You might know they have experience that they could help you, right? But they have no time. They're busy. Really? Really? You don't have time for me? They won't even ask you what's going on. They won't even say, well, I'll be finished this at 5 o'clock. If you didn't figure it out, give me a call and I'll come back. They don't even say that. Everybody today is doing their little thing, their own little thing. They're so immersed in their own little thing, they forget we are in this together. Maybe you could make sense out of it. Maybe you could make sense out of it if somebody even said, well, I don't know too much about motorcycles, but here's a situation I had with a car. But nobody even has time to talk to each other anymore, do they? But when the situation arises, when the opportunity occurs, and someone is having a difficulty, the answer is throw a Bible verse at them. Throw a quote from a spiritual book at them. Throw some words from a philosopher at them.